Hey there, Capricorn. Welcome to your late November divine guidance reading. The following is going to be for those whose their sun, moon, rising, and or Venus are in the sign of Capricorn. I'm going to go ahead and pre-shuffle, but we have Venus entered into Capricorn, which this is going to be a very weird few weeks. This is the case for all the other readings that I have divinated for so far. And I feel as though those of you who have your Capricorn placements, this is going to be a very difficult few weeks for you to really articulate yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you're having a difficult time expressing yourself. Part of it is that the pool of energy that we are in, a lot of people, including yourself, are going to be struggling with feeling like nothing's ever going to be enough. Are you going to be able to make it to another day? There could be a little bit of this low key. It's not like quite a low-key internal crisis, but it could feel that way. Like the energy's very deceptive. Before I go to cut, I got the card as psychic. And despite all of your earthly considerations, Capricorn, I feel like there's going to be a lot of third eye activations for you guys. And after I go to cut, good fortune. The way that you consider safety and with its safety of your body, safety of work, safety of making sure that you consistency at home, that needs to be readdressed because while you seek out security, your life has not exactly worked out in your favor to feel secure in of itself. Capricorn has definitely been a hot topic, especially for astrologers who have been watching, like, it's almost like a daily report, like daily breaking news on, all right, Capricorn's at this degree, or pardon me, Pluto in Capricorn is at this degree, then this degree, then this degree, then this degree. And it's like, why do I keep hearing the word disagree? um, your 3D reality and your fifth dimensional consciousness may feel at odds with each other, but you're being asked to kind of listen to the absurd way that you're perceiving things. You haven't exactly lost your mind, but you've been very disconnected from your higher knowing. And I feel like over the next couple of weeks, there's a switch that's going to be clicked on and something will start to make sense for you guys. We've got the card of affluence. Let's keep going here. Earth. Well, there's your energy right there. Talisman, the key to all things, and protection. Wow, this is it's a very autumnal kind of coloring that I see for you guys. Um, it's sort of as though you've been very dependent. I use that word loosely. Very dependent on making sure that your physical reality matches your sense of what safety is supposed to be, but your mind space hasn't felt safe. It's like if I keep locking, make sure if I always have the doors locked and I always know where a spare key is, and then I also have a backup password, and then I have like two trusted friends who'd also have access to it, then I'll feel safe. It's sort of as though you've gone into hyperactive lockdown with your 3D reality. However, you haven't really taken the time to consider your mental space because the mental space is light and ether and thought. And how are you supposed to protect something that you can't put a physical boundary up with? Like, we got so many things in our world when it comes to creating blocks with technology, with which is literally blocking, changing our notification settings, knowing when it's worth talking to a friend or just avoiding them and feeling bad that you're avoiding them. I really feel like Capricorn's going to be dealing with some more mental warfare. Many of the other messages for the other earth signs have been rooted more in body care, self-care, self-reflection. But I think for you guys, your unique approach this month needs to be more about what makes you happy inwardly because you've been trying to fake it till you make it in many ways and not externally. I really feel like people think you're doing extremely well, that if you that if you actually tried to talk about something bad that has happened, it's not as though people wouldn't notice, but they may actually feel surprised. You have accidentally and without any fault on your own, some way there's a compliment in here for you. People have put you on the pedestal. And it just like it seems like there's something wrong. It's like, oh, cool. Like, I feel like I could be a leader about this. All right, cool. Like, I'm really glad I can give a great first impression to people. But when you get stuck thinking you always have to look that way, that's where the mighty tends to fall. And there's something about your psychological health could collapse in on itself if you don't take the time to honor your mental space. Like, what do we got going on here? Talk about mental space. Son of Swords, you're going to be getting a lot of information thrown at you, and it's going to be coming out of nowhere. When we have the card of affluence, it can be a little bit about being influential, but there's exponential growth. One idea sparks another idea, and then there's growth, there's resonance. And on one hand, that can be a very powerful energy, but your mental space, the smallest little flicker can ripple out in your reality in all kinds of different ways when you're not necessarily regulated. And it can start creating these distortions where, I was talking about blocking people or just avoiding talking to friends just because you don't feel like talking to them. Then you feel bad that you're not talking to them. And then you realize, well, maybe they are having a really rough day. Maybe they do have it worse than you. And then you call them anyways. Then you remind yourself why you didn't want to talk to them in the first place. That's the negative aspect, the self-feeding negative aspect of this energy that you really do need to focus on, because small thoughts can lead to out of control situations and create gossip and just extra work to clean up when it's not warranted. What else do we have here? We got the Daughter of Wands, and I feel like this is your temptation to skirt around the issue. It's sort of like you're trying to avoid it's like you're trying to avoid something. We had some more Daughter of Cups. Like, I really get the sense that you have been weaving around, ducking, dodging, trying to it's not even that you're being avoidant, though I think a therapist may call you being avoidant. Your intention isn't to do so. Well, this is quite curious. I really, really hope this is making sense. Um, Really, at the end of it all, your motivation is out of love, sweetness, wanting to be able to show people that you love and you care about them. You just have a unique way of going about it. I really feel as though you're just really misunderstood, especially if your idea of showing love and kindness to people that you care about is very practical. There's a bit of a love language thing going on where maybe somebody approaches you and they want to talk about everything that's going on, but maybe you don't know how to properly receive other people's thoughts because it really does rattle your emotions. And this insecurity pops up that makes you go, well, okay, I need to do something about this. Like, I probably should do something about it because I care about it. And then you try to offer them something like, okay, let's have a cup of tea, or why don't we go out and do something together? You may have been a little bit reacting too much from the masculine end of things, where when someone approaches you with a problem, you automatically assume that they're asking for a solution from you. And that can be like, marriages fall apart because of this type of misunderstanding. But it's as though you don't know how to hold space for people, and that's a shame because there's something about your gifts within here that I think are being missed, because there's something about the way that you think and the way that you do see reality. If you were able to manage your emotions and manage your reactions and your self expectations, not so much the expectations of others, but your expectations of self, you'd be able to tap into and open up a really neat aspect of your strengths. But let's have a look at this card of Earth, putting up a boundary. And it's weird. Like, this could be having the higher ground, but I feel like you're giving off mixed signals to people. It's like, "Hey, I'm here if you need me, but don't get too close." And that could be a little bit confusing to the outside world. What do we have here? Father of Swords. Like, oh my God. Like, so far we've had nothing but court cards. What do we have next? Death. Okay. Let's get one more. Okay, five of, well, I barely want to, there's some, this is weird. I normally don't hold cards like this. And all of a sudden, I don't even remember if this was supposed, yeah, this is supposed to be upright. And I was like, oh, well, like, sure, it's not that big deal. No, sure. Maybe I shouldn't defeat it. This is sort of like you're negotiating against yourself. And this is all thought energy. I will tell you, just for the sake of transparency, we did the card of air at the base underneath good fortune. Like your mental space is going through an adjustment, and that could scare you because not all of you are as mentally stable as I think some of you wish you could be. It's okay. You've done a really good job masking and hiding it. In many ways, a lot of you guys don't want to feel vulnerable during this time. Maybe because some of your pride has been hell bent on showing that you can be a stable person, especially if you came from a little bit of a loopy family, or if you're like the white sheep in a family of black sheep, that can turn into an identity. You've done such a good job getting your shit together on the external world that there really seems to be a need this month to really do a lot of inward work. And this is quite transformative, but it does require you to be a little bit cold towards yourself. And it's not to be mean. Being mean is not cold. If you think that, work with it. You need to address that so that you're not getting accidentally hurt by other people's actions or a lack thereof. Actions, reactions, and stuff like that. Because some of you may be called to seek out some help in this energy. And if you struggle with feeling vulnerable, it means that you probably need to lean more towards professional advice as opposed to leaning towards your friends, because there's something about the way that you've structured your friendships where it's all about the external and the internal. Like you'll talk about it, but I really feel like it's hit the roof. The way that you interact with your friends to lean in there to get support or show support, something's been maxed out. And some of that could be literal with your debts. There is someone in here who's dealing with an energy of maxed out credit cards just to keep the external looking good. And there can be a lot of emotions if a Yeah, there could be a little bit of hurt emotions if there is a huge financial problem, because it means that you've over purchased external things to compensate for what's going inwardly. And the worst part is you kind of knew it, but you didn't think it really applied to you. Again, you keep negotiating against yourself because there's something within your intuition that is trying to connect with you so that you can make thoughtful decisions, not making practical decisions, making thoughtful decisions. We got the card of the Chariot, and this is to help clarify a little bit of this talisman that I'm hearing, like Saint Peter, the keys to heaven, being able to in like a lot of ways have your cake and eat it too. There's nothing wrong with physical wealth. There's nothing wrong with material wealth. It's all part of how we play the game. Like one game is having the least amount of physical objects and traveling the world. That's one type of energy. And the other is to magnetize all kinds of cool like objects and experiences and chances to pay it forward and share it with the rest of the world. Both are valid, but both can be very toxic. One could be way too untethered that they never address their issues, and the other buries themselves in so many things trying to fix something because there is a buried issue. So, we do have the chariot, and the chariot does ask us to have a look at the light and the shadow aspect of it. So, Nine of Pentacles, I think there's a little bit of similarity with you and the Sagittarius reading, even if you don't have Sagittarian placements. This could relate if you have someone that you love and care about who's in Sagittarian energy, to see something from their perspective, because your own sense of independence needs to be readjusted. So it's not just hell bent on your financial portfolio, your nest egg, the retirement plan, your RRSP or 401k, like whatever. Like there's so many practical considerations in your 3D that you really have ignored the the mental aspect. What is your relationship to money? What is your relationship to your mortgage, your house, your bank? What is your relationship to money in context to family, friends, or for those of you where this applies, having moochy friends who just want to take money from you just because they're having a bad day and they know you've got a few extra and then you feel bad because you give it to them. And again, you negotiate against yourself. It's made you prone to succubus energy, daughter of swords, more page energy. Like, yeah, I think you guys have some alignment, or at least the Sagittarian reading will give you a bit of a different angle to see what's going on, because that one's talking about releasing friends that are just not going to be able to elevate with you. And I think a few of you are still stuck within the mental trap of what are they going to say about me? Which means that if you're worried about what other people say about you, it means that you have your surrounded yourself with people who only think and consider based on what you physically show to the world. And that's not all of you. That's just a version of you. That's just the external version of you. And I feel like a lot of you guys want to go a level deeper. Many of you are going to be going also, it seems like, through some heart chakra opening. I can bring in a lot of feels. Um, because if you're accustomed to cold relationships or relationships that are just based on physically hanging out, you're looking for depth. And I just feel this vortex that just wants to open up at the base of the heart chakra. Because when we have a 5 of Pentacles, it's like you can have the car, you can have the house, you could have like the most awesomest pet, the coolest family, living in the greatest neighborhood, but it still doesn't seem like it's enough. And some of this is this Venus and Capricorn energy. Like you guys are just the most sensitive to it. And you may be worried and stuck in this vortex, like maybe that you are not enough. First of all, you are always enough. You personally are always enough. All the other things that you've tacked on to you as part of your identity, like a lot of this stuff will be called into question. What are the thoughts that you're saying to yourself? How do you talk to yourself? Are you nice to yourself, or are you lying to yourself? Because sometimes when you're nice to yourself, the shadow aspect of it is that you're not willing to admit where you might have addictions. You're not willing to admit where certain friendships, they are just not evolving with you. That you're stuck being the light and the happiness pump and not willing to recognize your own shadow aspects. That'll apply mostly to those of you who are still kind of about people from the past, that if they've had addictive behaviors that hurt you. I was talking about being the white sheep in a black sheep family, so this can apply to family upbringing as well. If you're still struggling with this kind of side eye of how someone's addictive behaviors have hurt you, and you still can't let that go, consider that your obsession about this person is an addiction in of itself and that needs to be healed out. Let's clarify the card of protection, because you are trying to protect yourself. You're trying to make sure that you protect yourself from ruin, from poverty, protect yourself from malnourishment, even protection from being lonely. A few of you have had to struggle through some alienation wounding, especially if you felt like you never fit in growing up. Like maybe the kids at school didn't quite get on board with who you were, or maybe your family was just a little bit too extra, that they couldn't really take the time to see you for who it is that you are. Like there's all kinds of ways that we try to protect ourselves, especially within the mental space. But it's one of these things where you've done a great job getting your physical reality together. The Pluto transit for the last 18 years has been favorable for you guys. But now that this work is done, it's time to start focusing on something different. It's kind of like, okay, give you a practical example. If you purchased a house, it needs an upgrade. So it's like, okay, I have the mortgage, I've got the things, I got the title, like I've got all my furniture in here, but this isn't serving me for what the version of me now wants. It's time to start thinking about a spiritual renovation. And when we do a spiritual renovation, that can feel very, it's the unknown. It's exploring unknown territory, and it requires you to really look at yourself in the mirror and have a honest conversation with where it is that you have page page um where you've second fiddled yourself all in the name of keeping things consistent. Like, I'm talking to someone who may have a very conservative approach to life. It has nothing to do with your politics. You just enjoy consistency. You enjoy the same. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying the same. Um, but there's something that you're being asked to learn and to grow up from because you're applying yourself to the same with how other people have defined it. You've explored it, you've made the most of it, you have some excess to trim off. And in some ways, you over manifested your solutions on one end of your reality, but you're malnourished in the mental space. What else do we have? We got the moon. Like, you need to watch the Sagittarius reading. I really don't care if you have placements with Sag or not. There's so many, like in the latter half of that reading, like same energies and similar cards. Like Page of Swords, Page of Pentacles. We got the moon and the Nine of Pentacles. Like, um, there's something going on within here. But you are struggling because you want to stick to the familiar, but I'm sorry. If you want something different, you have to explore the unfamiliar, going into uncharted territory. Just because you can't see it immediately doesn't mean it's not there. Your psychic abilities are being activated, and the only reason you are magnetized to this message, and maybe something that I'm saying is actually making sense, is because you've asked for a psychic upgrade. This is part of your training. If even if you've been trying to go out of your way to study what it means to be psychic, reading the books, getting into the literature, you've been learning the theory, because Page of Swords is very much about the theory, and then the Page of Pentacles is the practicality. You're being asked to practice what it is that you have been learning, and at first it feels uncomfortable. Like, this when this baby fawn is born, its legs are a little bit wobbly. I'm not sure if I see a Queen of Pentacles. Oh, we got a Son of Pentacles. It's a little bit of a brotherly energy almost. You do actually have a lot of support, but you're trying to learn how to become your own Queen of Pentacles. Here's the thing, you're actually not alone, and you actually are growing up. This is part of your growth process. You're going from a baby to at least, like, some middle-aged, teenage child, and teenagers don't know what the hell they're doing, and neither will you. There's an ask for you to give yourself some permission to fuck up a little bit. Experiment. Your physical reality is really rock solid. In some ways, a lot of people would kill to have this level of physical establishment. And what was the point of you creating something so solid if it wasn't for any other reason than for you to grow? If you're stuck with the idea of keeping everything solid and nothing changing, you're a survivor. But as you heal from your survival mentality, this is the fortress to give you a chance to play, to give you a chance to grow, experiment. You cannot be afraid of failure in this energy, but it will be challenging because Venus is in Capricorn for the next 4 weeks, you will second guess yourself, and you may lose sight on what you intended to get out of this experiment in the first place. Write some shit down, get some post-it notes, get a whiteboard and write down notes to yourself, write future letters to yourself. Like, you can send emails to your future self, delay send, things like that. There's something about you anchoring in the moment of now with the person who it is that you are, so that when this wraps up in the next 4 weeks, like, write yourself a letter now to be opened and addressed in mid-December. I really feel like there's something very comforting you can say to yourself, and recognize you actually can be really nice to yourself. Like, maybe you can be kind to yourself. You don't need to be a kiss ass, but really be honest with yourself. What is it about your reality that you love? You should be honest about what is you love. What is it that maybe it could be better? What is it that you really hope to achieve? Use that goal orientated mentality to its maximum potential. What is it that you're afraid of the most? And how likely is it that you are to succeed? After I go to shuffle. Oh, we got roots. Focus on foundation. Like, you have been so good at working on your physical foundation and your material considerations. Good job. Get ready for some shifts. The climate is shifting, but it doesn't mean that all the work that you've put into making sure that your reality is comfortable, safe, and secure, that doesn't need to be compromised. You're learning how to anchor into your mentality, anchoring into the person who it is that you actually are. Take this time to get to know yourself for the first time. You aren't the you aren't the objects that you accumulate around yourself. You are the person who that you speak into reality on a day-to-day basis. I'm just saying. Woo. Well, Capricorn, whoever you guys are, damn, I sincerely hope that this helped. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you like my style, please make sure to like the video on the way out. And if you're kind of curious about the next message, I highly recommend that you subscribe. And until I see you at the next one, I'm wishing you peace, love, and all the berries. Bye.